Finally, we have the Genesis G70. Now, the G70 is Genesis' answer to the entry-level luxury segment. So think Lexus IS, Audi A4, Mercedes C-Class, and more importantly, the BMW 3 Series. Now, we really enjoyed the Stinger GT when we were driving that, and that has the same engine. 3.3-liter twin-turbo V6, 365 horsepower with 374 pound-feet of torque. We really enjoyed that car, how it handled, how it felt. Very special car, we thought. Now, the G70 is smaller, it's lighter, so hopefully it's a more exciting car. We know it's going to be a good car because all Genesis cars are. We really enjoy Genesis here at Clutch Kick. The question is though, will we fall in love with it the same way we did with the Stinger GT? Let's find out. Now, the exterior styling, we're a huge fan of. Overall, the car is designed to be pretty conservative. I think this car is going to age really well. We're in an age where all these cars are kind of overly designed. You have, Lexus, BMW with their excessively big grills, and that might look kind of cool now. I'm not sure how it's going to look in about 10 years time. G70 though, pretty conservative. Couple things that do concern me. Right here in the front here, there's this V thing going on. Overall though, we really enjoy the car. Got the smoke chrome treatment, got the copper accents in the headlights there, reminiscent of the G80 Sport. Love the smoke chrome throughout the windows. It gives it a bit of shininess, a little bit of bling without being cheesy. My favorite thing though, my favorite thing has to be the taillights right over here. They kind of have like an LED light bar situation going on right there. At night it looks really good. It kind of has a neon effect. Really enjoy that. Enjoy the simple exhaust there. They don't quite fill up that entire space. The exhaust tip is actually part of the bumper, very common trend. Love the gray wheels. You can't ever go wrong with gray wheels. Overall, just a really pretty car, and I've actually been catching a lot of people taking a look at it and wondering what it was. So that's always a good sign. When you're paying $50,000 for a car, you want people to ask what it is and to enjoy it. You want to be able to impress people with it. So well done, Genesis. All right, first things first, how does the G70 handle? Overall, really good. Body rolls kept to a minimal. The car feels very pivotable. It feels like it really rotates around itself. Lots and lots of grip from this all-wheel drive system. There's also torque vectoring as well. Suspension, in terms of ride, is very well damped, both in comfort and even in sport mode, so that's really nice. Engine and transmission response is very good in sport mode. It's always in the right gear. Comfort mode, it feels like there's a lot of lag. It just feels like it's never in the right gear. It feels like it's about 2 gears too high, trying to stay as efficient as possible, I guess. The sport mode I really enjoy. The sport mode in a lot of cars can be infuriating sometimes. What you'll notice is that the transmission will be about 2 gears too low and it feels like it never upshifts, and it just makes driving really annoying, so it makes the sport mode not very practical. Not the case in the G70. It's calibrated really well. It's in a low enough gear to give you that power that you need, but it doesn't feel like it's holding revs like 3,000 or 4,000 RPM waiting for you to upshift. So again, the sport mode on the car calibrated really well. Me personally, I think I like the steering in comfort mode a little bit more. The steering doesn't feel entirely natural in sport mode. In comfort, I think it's weighted perfectly. So my personal settings for the custom mode would be engine transmission in the sport mode, but then the suspension and the steering in the comfort mode. With that said though, the steering is very good. There's actually no dead spot on center, a reasonable amount of feel to the steering as well, so I do enjoy that. I must admit, I think I like the Stinger's steering a little bit more. I can't explain why, but it just feels a little bit more special than the G70, but it's still fantastic in this car. Now, the all-wheel drive setting is quite interesting. You can also choose between comfort and sport, and also an eco mode for the all-wheel drive system. And I would recommend the sport setting for it. The reason being is we had a similar problem in the G80 Sport, which was with the all-wheel drive system, the steering just doesn't feel entirely natural when you're turning it into a corner. It kind of feels like the weighting of it changes partway through. But what I found is if you put the all-wheel drive system into the sport mode, I think it sends a little more power to the back, and then the steering responds a little closer to a rear-wheel drive car. Again, the steering on this I'm not 100% in love with. I think it's very good. I think we're gonna have to try a G70 that has rear-wheel drive just to make sure it's not a all-wheel drive problem versus a chassis calibration problem. The 3.3-liter twin turbo has the 8-speed automatic. We've seen this 8-speed auto before. It's the same one that's in the G90, the G80, the Stinger GT. Great transmission. We're a huge fan of it for 2 reasons. It shifts very quickly and it's also very smooth. The shifting is pretty intelligent in automatic mode. Kind of has a good feel of when to downshift, when into upshift, but if you pull on one of the paddles, also responds pretty quickly as well. The brakes on the G70 are a pleasant surprise. When we tested the G90 and even the G80 Sport, I found that the brakes on those were really soft and didn't feel like they stopped the car quickly enough. We got Brembos on this car, which makes a big difference, but the calibration of it is much better. The pedal has a lot more feel to it. The brakes start biting at the top of the pedal. There isn't a dead spot at the top of it. So the brakes are a huge improvement, and I hope that Genesis continues to improve on their braking feel on their cars. The ride on the G70 is also pretty reasonable. It's fairly comfortable while still maintaining a sense of sportiness and communicativeness through the suspension as well, so that's good. It is a little bit louder than other Genesis cars at highway speeds. I did notice a bit more road noise coming through into the cabin, but there is no wind noise that you get from other cars in the class. Although the 3.3-liter twin-turbo V6 only comes with an 8-speed auto, the 2-liter 4-cylinder, which is the base engine in the G70, actually is offered with the manual transmission, and you can get it in the higher trim levels that come with the LSD and the Brembo brakes. This is huge. It's only on the base engine, yes, but at least they bothered offering it. BMW doesn't even offer a manual transmission on the new 3 Series. What is that saying? Now, the interior of the G70 is pretty nice overall. The materials are pretty good. There are some plastic things here and there, but that's totally fine for the entry-level luxury segment. Instrument cluster is very clean. Steering wheel is really nicely shaped. Positioning, 10 and 2 notches and everything like that is good. My only gripe is that there's a lot of stuff here that's clearly from other Hyundai products. And when you're trying to rebrand Genesis as a separate brand from Hyundai, it'd be nice to see some things be a little bit different. For example, the infotainment system is very clearly just a standard Hyundai system. It's the same fonts, it's the same layout, it's identical. It's not a bad system. Again, just want to see it differentiate a little bit from the standard cars. It's the same thing with the instrument cluster. The instrument cluster and the center screen, all that stuff is shared with other Hyundai products. The other thing to know is that the interior is a little bit small. It's very similar in here to the size of a Lexus IS, for example. Audi A4 is going to be a much more spacious car if that's something that's important to you. For me, I like small cars, so I think this is a great fit. With that said, I wish the trunk was a little bit bigger. If you're going to get a sedan, I would expect a reasonably sized trunk, and this trunk is not that big, to be honest. This is a G70 Sport, which means it's a fully loaded model. Genesis doesn't really do a la carte options. You pick your options based on what trim level you want, so there's not too much choosing. The Sport trim level features sporty touches on the outside, such as the tinted headlamps and the tail lights, and also the smoke trim around the outside of the car. Inside, I believe it's the middle trim and up, so not just the Sport trim, that you can get these beautiful quilted seats, which is fantastic. We're a sucker for quilted seats here on Clutch Kick. It just makes the car feel very premium. They're also ventilated as well, which is really nice. The rear seats are heated, and they have 3 settings, which is unbelievable. I don't think I would ever need to give my rear passengers that much choice, but hey, they can share in on the fun. So overall, why would you purchase this over the established competition? It's got to be value. This trim level, for example, which is basically fully loaded with the all-wheel drive, is around $53,000. Now, a BMW M340i with a similar amount of power starts at $54,000, and that's before you add any options. And that car is about 0.1 seconds quicker to 0 to 60. So it's not a huge performance difference, but yet in the Genesis, you're getting lane departure warning. It actually has adaptive lane keep, so it'll help steer you within the lanes. It has blind spot monitoring, rear traffic alerts. It also has the upgraded sound system. Again, the excellent quilted ventilated seats, panoramic sunroof. It's just such an incredible value. Now, driving it, I think it actually drives better than the BMW, but that's gonna be something for you to decide. The Germans, as far as I'm concerned, don't drive as well as this, and also the value proposition just isn't there. I also firmly believe this will be more reliable than the German alternative. Would I buy the G70 if I was looking for a luxury entry-level sedan? Yes, absolutely. I think this is the one. Now, with that said, this is around a $50,000 car as equipped. Would I buy this if I was looking to spend $50,000? I'm not entirely sure. There's just something about the Stinger that still pulls me to it. And I'm still having a hard time explaining it because the Stinger is a heavier car, it's longer, it feels a little bit more cumbersome than this, but it feels more magical somehow, and that's why I choose cars, is that magical feeling that it gives me. So where do we see Genesis as a brand? Well, I have high hopes. I think they bring a lot to the table, and they can really only go up from there, especially since Albert Bierman is at Hyundai Auto Group helping with chassis development. That's going to be a big plus for them moving forward.